the two areas that, again, are obvious once you say it are occupational skills and, as I mentioned, these employability skills, which can be ingenuity and sort of coming up with, bottom-up innovation.
Yep.
And those skills are valued, but they are, as you say, hard to measure, even by companies. But what happens with apprenticeship is that you can watch how people are learning. So you might start with 5 apprentices, and the mentors are seeing how they're learning. Some of them are taking to it. One may drop out. He's not as interested. But again, as you say, if you start young, it's not that big a loss. The person at least has gotten some familiarity with workplaces, gotten a little pay. And the employer begins to see which of these 4 remaining ones are the ones they really want to keep. And a second thing is that the apprentices, the specific skill is taking place as well in the workplace because you're learning that occupation in the context of a particular company.
Yeah.
So you're learning the company culture, you're learning where things are. You'd have to learn that even if you hired somebody off the street for that job. So that's why apprenticeship can work well with companies. Once they learn how to do it, once they kind of get used to the idea, the saving in recruitment, in retention, can be significant. But as you say, most companies don't really know it. Most Americans don't really know.
So what we have in America, though, which is kind of similar, is we have an internship, which is kind of an unpaid apprenticeship. And of course, there's been some criticism of internships. It's one of the great, unintended consequences of either well-meaning or poorly designed public policy. People said, well, internships are unfair because only rich people can afford, only children of the wealthy can afford to work at a job and not be paid. So we should require internships to be paid. That makes them a little bit more like apprenticeships. Doesn't have the close tie of the educational component to the practical component, but it's a start. And I think it's a wonderful thing. Almost all the internships that my kids were able to do were informative for them, educational. They learned, as we've been talking about, not just the details of that job, but how to work well with others, how to present yourself, how to deal with things that aren't fun, like getting up every morning and getting to work. And yet people say, well, it's unfair, so they have to be paid, which of course means now to get an internship, you have to have enough skill to make it worthwhile, which of course privileges people who grew up in wealthy households. It's much worse.